What hostage negotiation tactics did the FBI use, and what mistakes did they make advising the Guthrie family while communicating with the possible kidnappers? We're going to break that down with forensic psychology, so now let's get started.
We need to know, without a doubt, that she is alive and that you have her.
Usually proof of life is given by the kidnapper from the start to legitimize them and their demands, but not here, which suggests that they either don't have Nancy Guthrie, they are trying to extort the family for money, they are very inexperienced at this, or Nancy has sadly passed away in the kidnapping and they're trying to extort the family for money. Based on the recent video that Savannah Guthrie posted on her Instagram page,
we received your message and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
if you break down their tone, body language, linguistics, demeanor, this all sadly points to the supposed kidnapper telling the Guthrie family that Nancy had passed away. Which, given the fact that she didn't have her heart medication for several days and she didn't have her Apple Watch to monitor her heart, it seems plausible that she sadly passed away. However, the behavior of these supposed kidnappers is quite odd.
FBI agent said today that they need to hear from the possible kidnapper as the message sent demanded payment, set deadlines, but provided no way to respond.
They didn't try to reach out to the family until 3 days later, and even when they reached out to the family, they actually sent the letters to the media and not to the family.
The ransom note that was distributed to the media did make a demand for 5 p.m. today, and if a transfer wasn't made, then I think a second demand was for next Monday. I think it's pretty clear the family wants to be contacted.
The FBI says agents are proceeding as if these ransom messages emailed to television stations in Arizona are legitimate.
This behavior in general indicates that whoever wrote these letters and sent them to the media outlets seems more interested in gaining public attention than actually communicating with the family. So it makes you wonder, why would they do that? Specifically, they reached out to a local media outlet first, and then 12 hours later, from their first note, they again sent that first note to TMZ.
And then they give a description of something that Savannah's mother was wearing at the time of the abduction and a damaged item in the house.
Therefore, whether this came from the legitimate kidnappers or not, it seems like they were trying to extort money, possibly from the public, and not specifically from the Guthrie family.
Where they mentioned the Apple Watch and the floodlight, and that was what really put my antenna up, and we immediately called the sheriff.
Therefore, if the news outlets, specifically someone like TMZ, who would be more known to possibly publish the entire letter,
they are asking for money, a lot. They are asking for it in the form of Bitcoin, and they are putting an or else on this.
Right.
There may be someone of the public that would actually send the ransom money in. Therefore, the Bitcoin wallet information would be known by millions of people, and possibly many people would start to send in money to possibly, in their mind, get Nancy Guthrie released. However, as you probably know, TMZ and the local media news outlet in Tucson never published the entire letter that they sent, which would have included the Bitcoin wallet information. A common misperception and misstep of the public think that as soon as you get a ransom note, it's just better just to quickly pay it as soon as possible. However, why do you think that's not such a good idea? Here's a more relatable example that will help explain this. Suppose you're at a flea market and you spot a really nice clock that you want in your house. You read the sign and it says $500. And you're like, oh, that's kind of expensive. I wonder if he can take less. So you offer the owner $450. And immediately he goes, deal. How does that make you feel? Right, you'll be thinking to yourself, dang it, I should have offered him $400. I could have gotten this thing so much cheaper. However, consider this alternate scenario of how this guy responded. So you offer him $450 and he responds, ooh, I can't do $450. I can do $460. And then you go, okay, I can do $460. And now in that scenario, how would you feel about the deal? Right. You'll be thinking, all right, I got a good deal. I paid $460. Meanwhile, in that first scenario, you would be feeling worse about getting the same product, but for less. And it's only because of what? Yes, simple negotiation. So going back to the ransom situation, what do you think the kidnapper would think if the family immediately sent in the money? Yes, the kidnapper is going to think, I shouldn't have demanded just $5 million. I should have demanded $10 million. That's one of the reasons why the families usually ask for more time. A common misperception is that as soon as you pay the ransom, you'll get your loved one back. However, that's not usually true. The kidnapper is not like online shopping where you pay the money and you get the product. No, kidnappers, they usually play dirty. So if they feel like you paid too quick or it was too easy to extract money from you, that in their mind signals that they should have asked for more money. So since they already have the person, what they'll probably say is, no, we changed our minds. We need an extra $5 million now. That is the reality of these dirtbags. Okay, they're extortionists. They're going to keep extorting you until they feel like they extorted you for all they can extort you for. And we see this type of anger and greed play out in the famous movie Ransom in this scene right here.
And the funny thing is, I would have paid 10 times as much if I had any sense that they'd stick to the deal, but no. Really? Oh yeah, really.
Gary Sinise's character was being written a $4 million check. But for him, he feels poor now because he's thinking, wow, I could have extorted them for possibly $20 million. Because at the start of the movie, he was only asking for $2 million.
I have your son.
Oh, Jesus!
I want $2 million. You got one more chance to pay up.
Well, you're never going to talk to him again. No more around. This is it, right now. What's it going to be? No. You're not going to touch him. You can't be that stupid.
Although the movie is fictional, the stress that's depicted on both sides of the family and then also the kidnapper's side, and then the interaction between the family and kidnappers, and that whole stress and interaction and turmoil there is quite accurate.
I can't go back to my life. What do you want me to do? You tell me.
Shut up.
You tell me, huh?
You know, you're not going to be able to go to your brother's funeral either, man.
Shut the
There's usually more than one person involved in a ransom, so naturally there's going to be a lot of argument, a lot of stress of how to actually carry this out.
Shut up. Where are you going? Get out of my
Savannah Guthrie and her mom were sadly obvious and easy targets for a ransom. Do you know why? We're not entirely sure that it is a ransom, but nevertheless, they were easy targets. Savannah is very wealthy with many millions of dollars of contracts working at NBC. Savannah has publicly shown that she loves her mother very much on television, making it obvious that she would do anything for her mother.
Hi!
It's brought by Savannah's mom.
Savannah! I'm gonna tell you! Are you kidding me?
Nancy Guthrie was a 46-year-old widow. Her college-age daughters made a pact to be home with their mom on weekends while going to school.
Number 3, her mother lives alone in a very unsecure area. And number 4, she's elderly and sadly, therefore, easier to physically overcome. People who outwardly and publicly love their families are sadly greater targets for ransom, and this type of scum preys on them. So although we're still trying to figure out whether this is actually a ransom or a kidnap murder, nevertheless, Savannah Guthrie's mother would be a high target for a ransom situation. In the family's ransom response videos on Instagram, they were quite emotional.
Mama, if you're listening, we need you to come home. We miss you. Our mom is our heart and our home.
I think the point of those videos was to elicit a response from the kidnappers so that they actually respond to them and that they can actually have a discussion, because the family needs to feel comfortable that if they do send the money, that they'll get their loved one back.
We too have heard the reports about a ransom letter in the media. As a family, we are doing everything that we can. We are ready to talk.
So typically ransoms aren't anything like this, where someone just sends a letter and says, well, we have your loved one, just trust us, but send all this money to this Bitcoin wallet, and you'll probably get your loved one back alive. There's usually at least some attempt of proof of life to validate their claims. So this whole idea of Nancy being kidnapped is quite odd and very atypical of a typical kidnap ransom. In my prior video, I said this about the importance of a family describing what proof of life means to them.
We need to know, without a doubt, that she is alive and that you have her.
Yes, they asked the kidnappers for proof of life. If you don't specify what proof of life actually is, you're leaving it up to really bad people, really disgusting people, to decide and tell you what proof of life actually is. And I can sadly almost guarantee you that you're not gonna like what proof of life actually is to those types of people. You never leave it up to the perpetrator to decide big things like that, because they're the ones who did something terrible to your loved one. Why are you gonna trust them to decide what proof of life is or anything big in this case? If this is a ransom, one major mistake that the FBI made in advising the Guthrie family is that in their videos, they never specifically said that they demand that they do not harm Nancy.
We want to hear from you, and we are ready to listen. Please, reach out to us.
Also, the ransom response videos that the Guthrie family made with the help of the FBI, they needed to say specifically that dead bodies are worth $0. It needs to be clear in these ransom situations that if they start hurting their loved one, the amount of money that they can expect to get will go down. There must be a tangible incentive to prevent the kidnappers from harming their loved one. Because if there's not, what do you think is going to happen? Right, they're going to constantly bully the family using the threat of physical force against their loved one, and they're going to know that they have the upper hand to possibly extort them for more and more money. Saying that specifically also protects their loved one while being held captive by the kidnappers. The point is, the family controls the money. The kidnappers have the loved one that the family wants. The money is not going to be released unless their loved one is safe and unharmed.
She is 84 years old. Her health, her heart is fragile. She lives in constant pain. She is without any medicine. She needs it to survive.
And when you say to them dead bodies are worth exactly $0, you also say that Nancy does have a heart condition where she needs medication, and highly advise them to get her medication for her heart, because otherwise they're not going to get anything of what they want.
This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
Yes, in Savannah's last video, she did specifically say that they will pay.
We received your message, and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her.
However, it also implies, I think, throughout the video that they have an idea that Nancy has sadly passed away. So what are they paying for? We could be assumed that they're paying for Nancy's remains. At that point, that's a personal decision. Personally, I would never pay allegedly millions of dollars to someone who just killed my loved one. Maybe if it is true that Nancy has sadly passed and then the Guthrie family really wants the remains back to bury. However, I think there may be something else going on, because having the remains will actually give them some evidence of how Nancy passed and possibly evidence to bring the people who killed her to justice. But then again, we don't even know if the author of this letter is the legit kidnapper or not. It's just a really confusing case where we don't even know what really even happened to her. We don't even know if it really is a kidnap ransom. It could be a kidnap murder. And interestingly, now the police are investigating Savannah's sister's house.
Last night, investigators were inside Savannah's sister Annie's home for about 2.5 hours,
where it was reported about a week ago that Nancy's son-in-law was a suspect.
The source that I have is impeccable. The wording is very important. He said they now believe the son-in-law may be the prime suspect. Those are the words.
And this is the unspoken fear in a ransom case, where the family gives the kidnapper their money. What's the point of giving the family member back? This is not like buying something from Amazon, where you give Amazon your money and then you get your product. No. Why would they give him back?
The money, we do the kid, and I'm out of here.
Whoa, wait a minute.
He's right. I mean, you said you were going to do it anyhow.
The kidnapper returns the family member. Now the family member has a whole bunch of evidence to possibly bring the kidnapper to justice, which is why some people choose not to pay.
This is your ransom.
Wait, I want to see this.
$2 million, but this is as close as you'll ever get to it.
Because they don't believe they're going to get the person back.
Why didn't you pay the ransom? Because I was dealing with human garbage. No contract would have been honored, not by them.
And some people believe that if you just ignore the kidnapper, then they'll eventually release the person if they were going to release them anyway. Everyone has to make their own choices, but personally, if it were me, I would not pay ransom for anyone, and it has nothing to do with money because I've also instructed everyone that I know to never pay ransom for me. Do you know why? It's because I don't want to reward criminal behavior and put targets on my back. Because if you paid up in the past, you will be known as a client of theirs, where they're going to keep coming back and attempting at least to hold other family members of yours ransom and knowing that you're going to keep paying and paying because you paid before. However, in the United States, kidnapping for ransom is quite rare, so it could be just a one-off situation. Nothing I said is advice, just my opinion. Everyone needs to make their own decisions in life. My thoughts and prayers are with Nancy Guthrie, the Guthrie family, during this difficult time. Now in the comments, with everything that has happened in recent days, what do you think happened to Nancy Guthrie? Do you think that she was kidnapped for ransom? Do you think she was kidnapped and murdered? Do you think something else happened to her? Let everyone know in the comments below. Subscribe for more. And if you want exclusive content and channel perks, hit that join button now below because your support makes all of this possible. This is a weird case and quite odd that now they're looking very seriously at Savannah's sister's house. Why weren't they doing that before? I mean, it's kind of curious why all of a sudden a week later, now they're looking at that house. Didn't they have any idea that maybe that could be a possibility a lot sooner before anything was contaminated or anything else was hidden? The way this case is being investigated is completely ridiculous. It's botched and it's like a whole bunch of rookies are investigating. See you next time.